Mangwana ni mwalelepo vukenjani klekwas vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. Today is Wednesday, the 5th of February, and these are some of the stories that we are looking at. Namibia observed a day of remembrance in honor of the late President Dr Hage G. Geingob. Uganda begins a clinical trial to combat the Sudan strain of Ebola, and SADC and EAC summit convenes in Tanzania to address the Eastern DRC crisis. Stay tuned for more updates, and don't forget to catch all our programs on DSTV 285 and GoTV 25 in Namibia. You can also stream Africa Good Morning on oneup2.com and our YouTube page, Network Media Hub. Arrie Hougaard will also bring us the latest news from South Africa, including the Ramaphosa and Trump showdown. After the break, we head into the top stories.
NTV Awards 2025. These are your nominees. Show of the Year. Viewer's Choice Presenter of the Year. Lifestyle Show of the Year. Public Affairs Show of the Year. Sport Show of the Year. Sport Presenter of the Year. My Zone Show of the Year. And Chill Personality of the Year. NTV Awards, celebrating creativity, dedication, and impact.
In our top stories, Namibia stood still yesterday as the nation paid tribute to the late President Dr Hage G. Geingob, a towering figure whose legacy continues to inspire. On the anniversary of his passing, the air was thick as Namibians gathered at Heroes Acre to honor a leader who dedicated his life to unity, progress, and the Namibian people. The commemoration moved to State House, where Amos Shiyuka, chairperson of the Dr Hage Geingob Cup organizing committee, presented a check of 150,000 Namibian dollars to former First Lady Monica Gengos and President Nangolo Mbumba. The funds raised through the 10th edition of the Dr Hage Geingob Cup will contribute to the establishment of the Dr Hage Geingob Presidential Center, a testament to his enduring vision. Now, as the sun set over Windhoek, it was clear that while Dr Geingob may be gone, his spirit lives on in the people he served so passionately. The following footage is courtesy of the Namibian presidency.
My dearest people, the 4th of February 2024 will remain forever engraved as a day of sadness in the memories of Namibians. It is the day on which our nation unexpectedly lost a sitting head of state, our beloved comrade Dr. Hage Gottfried Geingob. There is nothing, and I repeat, there is nothing that would have prepared the people of the land of the brave for that overwhelming loss, which robbed the nation of a dedicated leader who had so much passion and love for all Namibians. President Geingob touched many lives with his kindness, his generosity, his commitment to inclusivity, and his hard work for the prosperity of the Namibian house. Today, a year later, after the passing of President Geingob, we are gathered here in this solemn ceremony of remembrance in order to pay homage to a leader whose legacy is rich, is high, and is broad. Without doubt, it is a legacy that shall not be forgotten by many here in Namibia, on the continent of Africa, and across the globe. How can we forget a leader who served humanity with everything in his fiber? We shall never forget the men. We shall never forget the many things President Geingob did toward creating a better Namibian house in which No one should feel left out, as he used to say. Fellow Namibians, on this day of remembrance, we are summoned to reflect on the journey we have traveled together as Namibians since that fateful day when death created the sudden absence of a leader who was present in every aspect of Namibian life. President Geingob was present at sports field watching soccer or rugby, at music show celebrating the arts, at beauty pageant, and at every other event that sought to advance the beauty, the welfare, and the unity of the Namibian nation. Therefore, as we evoke both the sad and the happy memories of our interactions with President Geingob on the first anniversary, together with his dear family, Madam Geingos, the children, my nephews and nieces, and the entire Geingob family, the large one over there, we are also reminded about his noble legacy. We see the legacy of President Geingob through the pivotal role he played in building a public service that is inclusive and geared towards serving the interests of all Namibians. We also recall his commitment to strengthen a government architecture that will withstand the test of time and provide public goods to all, especially the most vulnerable sectors of our population. Fellow Namibians, the year that has passed has been challenging for the Namibian people.
Moving into the rest of our stories, the city of Goma is rushing to bury over 2,000 bodies following a rebel offensive by Rwanda-backed M23 rebels last week. Now the attack has reignited a decade-old conflict and worsened the humanitarian crisis in the region. Congo's Communications Minister Patrick Muyaya described the situation as a massacre, with reports of civilians caught in crossfire, overwhelmed hospitals, and bodies lying in the streets. While a ceasefire has been declared for humanitarian reasons, sporadic shooting and looting continue. The United Nations estimates at least 900 deaths and nearly 3,000 injuries in the days leading up to Goma's capture. The situation in Goma highlights the fragility of peace in the region and the urgent need for sustainable solutions to break the cycle of violence. Now, Uganda has launched a clinical trial for a vaccine to combat the Sudan strain of Ebola following an outbreak declared last week. Now, the trial targets health workers and individuals exposed to the virus, beginning just 4 days after the death of a nurse in Kampala. 2 additional cases were confirmed on Monday. This marks Uganda's 6th outbreak of the Sudan strain, for which no approved vaccine currently exists. The World Health Organization praised the rapid initiation of the trial, which uses a ring vaccination strategy to immunize contacts of confirmed patients and other contacts. Uganda's swift response reflects its growing expertise in managing Ebola outbreaks, though the lack of an approved vaccine underscores the need for continued investment in local research and development. Now, a joint summit between the Southern African Development Community and the East African Community is set to address the crisis in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Scheduled for 7th and 8th February in Dar es Salaam, the summit will include Rwandan President Paul Kagame and Congolese President Felix Tshisekedi. Kenyan President William Ruto, the current EAC chair, emphasized the urgency of the meeting following the M23 offensive on Goma and ongoing clashes in South Kivu. Analysts hope the summit will realign regional positions and de-escalate tensions in the conflict-ridden region. Although aligning the differing approaches of SADC and EAC remains a significant challenge, the summit represents a critical step towards regional unity. Those have been our top stories on Africa Good Morning. If you've been paying attention to the news cycle, there's been a showdown between South Africa and the United States of America, specifically Donald Trump and Cyril Ramaphosa. We're going to get an update on that and other stories relating to South Africa from Arrie Hougaard after the break.
NTV's second annual awards 2025. This is how you can vote for your favorites. Save Synergy chatbot number +264 85785 6231 and send hashtag NTV Awards 2025 on WhatsApp and follow instructions. These are the categories you can vote for. Viewer's Choice Presenter of the Year: Precious Ngitaunapo, Toivo Njebela, Joe Marie Dadi, Aina Kweyo, and Brian Munango. Chill Personality of the Year: Miss Gideon, Jericho, DJ Vuyo, Captain Swazi, and P-Star. Voting closes 8 February 2025.
It's time to get the news from South Africa from the one and only Arrie Hougaard, our correspondent in Mzansi. Arrie, good morning. How are you?
Yes, a very good morning, Ashwin. Yes, nice to talk to you and everyone. Morning.
Good to have you on the show. Now, South Africa's relationship with the United States remains tense as President Donald Trump challenged President Ramaphosa on several issues. Please dig into it for us.
Yes, Ashwin, yes, it goes back quite a bit. I think it was highlighted last year as well. Maybe it began with South Africa filing for that law case or that case against Israel as well. And there's a few instances with AGOA as well, the African agreement with the USA stemming from last year. But let's take a step back. Those are the two leaders. And lots has been said, especially about the policies of South Africa by America. I think it is the United States that's applying their America's first, their policy that was the big theme for the elections. It's happening now is America is related to the USA. The aid there, that is the logo. South Africa get about $440 million US annually from the USA in aid. So it's quite a big number. And there's components of that, especially on the health side, that's been stopped. So the Minister of Health of South Africa, he was in contact also the last day with America, so they're discussing that as well. Big statements made by Joel Pollack. He's the possible ambassador to South Africa, so his statements need to be taken seriously. So it's quite a direct statement he made. He said that South Africa must abandon race-based policies. That was the first statement. And then he said South Africa must also align with the US-Israel policies in Russia and China, etc. So that's to continue to have benefit of aid. So it's a bit of a tough one, I think, for the South African government because it's threatening. And so South Africa do have their own policies. The Expropriation Act was obviously in the news the last few days. Even Mr. President Ramaphosa spoke to Elon Musk yesterday, and that is just to ask him just to attend to lies and disinformation that's been happening, especially statements made by President Trump. So that is definitely pressure on that. South Africa just reaffirmed that the Expropriation Act is not a land grab, and there's laws protecting people as well, and there's not been any land grab since 1994. That is the act that's been signed in, so that is in the, obviously, people look at that quite seriously. But AGOA is, for me, a bit of a concern, Ashwin, if I can say. AGOA has been in agreement for 25 years. That is trade with the USA. That's ending this year, the 25th year. South Africa's part of that, almost 6,000 products that's got benefits from trading with the USA with fees that's been slashed or no fees, import taxes, etc. So that's going to be under review. But it is a frosty relationship at the moment. So hopefully they will get to sort this out at a high level. But it seems like the USA is doing similar things to many countries around the world.
Well, I will certainly be keeping an eye on how all of that unfolds. Now, the South African Revenue Service has collected over 12 billion rand from tax in two-pot withdrawals.
Yes, it's lots of people in South Africa jumped at the opportunity to get their hands on the savings component of their retirement money. That's obviously not perfect for the long term, It's a short-term solution, and it's basically a telltale of the struggling economy in South Africa, and many of the people really struggling. There's only about 6.5 million South Africans that's investing or paying to pension funds. So what happens now is there's a staggering 43.4 billion South African rand paid out since September last year. So it's a huge volume of people. That's about 2.4 million South Africans that tapped into their savings side of their pension fund. So there's benefits. That is Mr. Edward Kieswetter. The benefits I'm talking about is for the country probably, which is not for the consumer. Mr. Kieswetter confirmed that about 12 billion of revenue was in for the country or for the South African Revenue Services. So that's lots of money. The concern is that 6.5 million people pay towards their retirement, but 40% of them tap into the savings. So it's not good. Only 6% of South Africans can retire comfortably at the moment. So that is a concern, taking that money too early. But at the moment, Souths do benefit from that.
Very interesting indeed. Now, Arrie, President Cyril Ramaphosa paid tribute to fallen South African soldiers in the DRC and reaffirmed the country's commitment to the peace process. Tell us more.
Yes, there's more frosty situations there. We talked about Donald Trump in the USA first, and now that's a real frosty situation at the moment with the president of Rwanda. That is President Paul Kagame, and there he is, Paul Kagame. And so there's been a to and fro as well. In short, yes, the president did say condolences to the fallen soldiers. The SANDF is part of the Southern African Development Community Mission there in the eastern side of the DRC. Also, the United Nations is involved. The accusations by President Ramaphosa there was that he said it was M23, that's the rebels in that fight, together with Rwanda Defense Force. He said that they initiated an attack the DRC and the peacekeepers, which included South Africans. So now it is a to and fro. What's happened now is a spokesman for President Kagame from Rwanda said that President Ramaphosa made accusations that President Ramaphosa's got his own mining rights interest in the DRC. That's why he sent the troops. So it's quite a bold statement to make. The presidency said they're not even going to reply because they don't reply on spokespersons communicating with the president. If the president makes that statement on his own, then they'll reply to that. So it's quite a to and fro. But at the moment, the President Ramaphosa confirmed that the SANDF will continue to be in the DRC as it is now.
Now, in some news that we generally do not like to read, petrol and diesel prices rose significantly at midnight, adding pressure to the South African economy.
Yes, it adds to the economy in a negative way. Unfortunately, we all know that. It's not only driving your children to school or driving around your town. It's the whole infrastructure costs that go out, transporting of food goods, etc., etc. It's more expensive to get food and commodities from A to B. The reality is from midnight that just passed, as effective now straight away, petrol up by 82 cents a litre. That's for both 93 and 95 octane. Diesel up for R1.01, and also paraffin is up by 96 cents. And that's a big component. Paraffin is a big component for many of the South Africans being used in gas stoves. And then gas is also up 42 cents a kilogram. So that's all happening. The reasons is, as always, the same. It's linked to the dollar, and we know that's what's happening since Donald Trump took over. So the dollar did strengthen against all the currencies in the world, the biggest economy in the world. So that is putting pressure on South Africa. We're a bit of a sitting duck there in terms of the oil price as well. So two components. The dollar strengthened against the rand. It's now 18 rand and 73. It was closer to 18 rand a month ago. And then the oil price also up from $72 to $78 a barrel. So that's usually because of the bad weather, the tough weather in the wintertime in the Northern Hemisphere, and tough to get all the oil out of the ground that's needed. Production is there under pressure. But and then also there's a strong United States economy that doesn't help the rand dollar. It looks like interest rates in the USA will stay the same as it is at the moment, so stay higher. Anyway, but that is the rand dollar challenging. The petrol price is a bit more expensive, but we've got a lot still to smile about still a great country, South Africa. So we're positive and happy. It will be a great week, and we'll have positive things to talk about next Monday or next Wednesday.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Arrie, for bringing us the news stories from South Africa.
Okay. Blessings to everyone. Bye-bye. Bye.
All right. Cheers. Let's head straight into our economic news. The turmoil within USAID, one of Africa's largest aid donors, has led to the withdrawal of critical health funding, threatening essential services across the continent. Africa's heavy reliance on foreign aid has sparked global debate on self-sufficiency, particularly in the health sector. With Trump-era funding cuts and the potential dismantling of USAID, Africa faces widening gaps in health financing, exposing vulnerabilities in its healthcare systems. However, the USAID crisis may serve as a catalyst for African nations to explore more sustainable, locally driven solutions to healthcare challenges. And at the Mission 300 Summit in Dar es Salaam, African leaders pledged to expand access to reliable, affordable and sustainable electricity. Launched in April 2024, the initiative aims to deliver electricity to 300 million Africans by 2030. The summit unveiled new plans to boost domestic resource mobilization and encourage cross-border trade to increase financing for energy access. Let's have a look at the indicators before we return with the highlights from the show.
Welcome to Namibia, where adventure meets tranquility. With Enjoy, you have access to a wide range of accommodations to suit every traveler's taste and budget. Experience the finest dining and hospitality Namibia has to offer. Booking your dream accommodation is just a few clicks away with Enjoy. Join thousands of happy travelers who have trusted Enjoy for their Namibian getaway. Your gateway to unforgettable Namibian adventures. Visit us today at enjoy.my.na.
These are the highlights from Africa Good Morning on Wednesday, the 5th of February. East Congo city of Goma rushes to bury bodies after rebel offensive. Uganda starts clinical trial to combat Sudan strain of Ebola. And USAID shutdown triggers crisis for NGOs, healthcare workers across Africa. Those have been our stories on Africa Good Morning. DSTV 285, GoTV 25, oneup2.com and Network Media Hub on YouTube is precisely where you can find us. From me, Ashwin Berry, and the Africa Good Morning team, Swera Jakanaka.